Another beautiful day, another Star Wars book. Well, I decided to read a lot of these before the end of the year, so looks like I better get to it. Because I've got a lot to... Holy sh... What's this? Outbound Flight? Zamwazel? Jango Fett Open Seasons? Darth Plagueis? Oh no. Oh, I've made a huge mistake. Looks like a lot of fans are going to be mad because those three come before Outbound Flight in the continuity of the Rise of the Empire era, which I said I was going to review first. Well, I'm going to have to remedy that by reading Jango Fett Open Seasons and Zamwazel Outbound Flight, and then reviewing those for you guys before I move on to the Republic Commando series. And Darth Plagueis, I'm going to make you guys wait till the final book that I read. You don't get to know about this one yet. But Jango Fett Open Seasons is the start of a Mandalorian saga, really. I feel like to do this, we'll have to delve into Mandalorian history a little bit and explain it to the audience. Looks like I gotta go to my old hometown, meet up with a friend of mine, and discuss just for you guys. How am I gonna get home? Welcome to the first installment of a new show, Expanded Universe 101. Today's subject are Mandalorians. I'm Dylan1138. I'm here with my friend.
Me.
Introduce yourself, guy.
I was about to get to that. I'm Finnen. You might know me by probably nothing, except for maybe Thinkradius on YouTube. You may know me from all of these videos, none of which you've seen.
And none of which I'm going to link.
Oh, thank God. And,
because I don't know how to do that.
Oh.
Also,
figure it out.
We do Twitch stuff together, and we've been friends since middle school. So we've been friends forever, and he is here with me today to be my Mandalorian consultant, even though technically speaking we both probably know just about the same amount of Mandalorian.
Pretty much. Maybe a few puzzle pieces swapped, but that's about it.
Like, now that I've caught up with the Republic Commando books.
Spoilers for what exactly? Everything?
Well, now I know more than I did.
Yay!
Yay! So...
and it's fresh in your mind because to stop myself from basically reading those books, finishing them, and then just starting reading them again, I have not read them in a little while, or else the cycle would continue.
They are amazing.
They're very
You learn
good.
a lot about Mandalorians, and they're super awesome people.
Yes. Karen Travis, the writer of those books, I love a whole lot. One of my favorite authors.
Karen Travis created the Clone War, or Karen Travis created Mandalorian
She commissioned
culture.
the clones with 1 billion bajillion trillion credits. She traded all of her shares in Microsoft and Google.
Whoa.
And
she created Mandalorians. Really, she created what they are, what they should be.
She made them a people.
She did. And the Clone Wars cartoon ruined it, so we'll talk about that.
Yes.
So we're going to start off with the most important question for those of you who've only seen the movies, and movies are kind of shit when it comes to this. What are Mandalorians?
What's a Boba Fett? What's
Who's
a
a
Jango?
Jango?
Yeah, what's a Jango? Because
How are clones?
how even did the clones are? And you might ask, and I might maybe. But
T-helmets are a thing.
they're definitely a thing. They were a thing before the things were stuff, but
No
really,
disintegrations.
yes. Huh? I only know one Jango line. Jango! Boba!
Wait, why would he say his own name?
Jango! You don't remember that part in Clone Wars? Where he's just like, Obi-Wan? Jango!
And everyone's like, oh my, I need to go.
Oh my, Obi-Wan. Generally, the movies, they didn't have a good representation for the Mandalorians, which is kind of okay because the movies weren't about the Mandalorians. They were about a guy in a suit being a bounty hunter at one point, and then a more important guy in a suit who
was kind of shoehorned in to explain, because people liked the other guy in a suit so much.
And, you know, really cool suit, pretty cool guy, so...
And why I am completely not for what the prequels did with the Clone Wars, I have to give them some credit, because, I mean, look what they did with Republic Commando books.
They presented a really good framing device for actually good media.
They did.
And I love them for that, because it gave me one of my favorite book series of all time.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Mandalorians are a culture of people that are a combination of any race. They are a nomadic race. They're basically Star Wars space Vikings.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's
space Vikings mixed with Mongolians. I swear to God, if I say Mandalorians, this is gonna be your fault. Mongolians. They were nomadic people who assimilated. Mandalorians? Actually, that was from Fifth Element. Mangalores.
Oh, yeah.
Ugly. Smelly. Handsome. I mean, I can give you
continue with what you're
historical
saying.
and real life perspectives and things that match up, but I don't have to if you don't want to hear about that. They always felt very Mongolian, or like any tribesman, Viking, Vikaloid.
They were very... They'd take people in. They'd go to a war, just decimate the entire place, well, if that was their job, or they'd save the place, and then if they found, like, stray children or people that wanted to join them, they'd be like, no.
They would bite through their bonds and bring them into the bosom of Mandalore so that they could fight for the
They'd take them in to be a true son of Mandalore.
Yeah.
And that's a hard term, because there's Mandalore the planet, Mandalore the ruler.
Well, Mandalore the figurehead, and then the current Mandalore, which usually has a title, though, like Mandalore the Pooperator?
The Indomitable.
The Constipated.
The
Cheesy.
The Untouchable.
The Funky.
The Hairy. Which was a Wookiee.
The Kooky. Or the Ultimate, the Indomitable.
The Immortal.
The Preserver.
I think there was an Immortal.
Maybe. There might have been.
Anyways, they are a culture that have been around since the dawn of Star Wars time as we know it.
Yeah. And even more than I knew, because I recently looked into their deep past. And I was surprised.
Yeah. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Mandalorians originally started out as a race of people called the
Tong.
I almost said Tengu.
The Tengu. They were bird people in the mountains. They were the Tong, and they originated on Coruscant.
Which is very strange.
Very strange, because that seems like it should be so important. I mean, it was thousands of years ago, but nonetheless, a native Coruscanti race that later went on to become one of the most influential peoples, cultures, war machines of the galaxy.
And they kind of looked like predators, but without the face mandibles. Like they had the dreads and stuff, and they just kind of had like
sweet dreads,
poopy mouths, and like big yellow eyes. The Tong kind of started to die off because of.
Well, they started to die off for
a long time. Different.
It's a chain of events, because they were driven off Coruscant, and they effectively. I think they had like a staging ground kind of planet that they made their temporary home, and then.
Was that Mandalore?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, it wasn't. It was someplace called like Rinky Dinku or something like that. Then came Mandalore first. Mandalore the First. So, Mandalore the First was one of the first people, first Tong at least, to actually unify all the tribes.
And pick up hot dogs.
Pick up those hot dogs, those weenies sticking out of the ground like little diglets, shove them into space, and start fighting battles as a unified fighting force. And they were good at it. And they were so good at it that they took future Mandalore and made it their home planet, which is where all of their mythology... Well, they're not mythology, but they're like... Mandalore as a place and as a figurehead is part mythological legend and part reality in, like, past and present, because they're always in between, like, the future Mandalore, the current Mandalore, and the Mandalores of the past. This is really important to them. Super
their culture
awe
and
reverence.
Their culture and family are two of the biggest things that they revere. They look at their elders with respect. Family is the most important thing.
Utmost loyalty and trust. And if you disregard that trust, they're usually not the people to go, oh, you know, you're my brother. It's more like, you done messed up. And then just...
So, yeah, Mandalorians started off like that. They eventually became, like, they accepted other people and,
also because the Tong were dying off.
Yeah, and so, like...
a lot of them around anymore.
Any race was invited in. Anyone who was a great fighter, really. Anyone who is young and can be taught to be a great fighter.
Anyone who felt the spirit of their culture, like, their values.
And they would often just adopt from the battlefield, because some of them couldn't actually have children of their own, and so they'd be like, hey, I want a kid. You're my new son. Yoink.
That one's mine. Do you want to at all talk about Ulic Qel-Droma and that stuff? Mandalore the Indomitable basically sold the entire Mandalorian race into slavery because he was like, Ulic Qel-Droma, and Ulic Qel-Droma was all like...
Mandalorians have had many conflicts with other cultures in the past.
Yeah.
They have had many run-ins with Jedi and Sith. They do not get along with Jedi, and while they get along better with Sith, they...
Because they're pragmatic. However,
yeah, but
Mandalorians are...
They're not evil.
They're a third party. They're very amoral in some ways, but very compassionate to their own, which means that Jedi, Sith, right down the middle, basically.
They are, and the thing is that they were fooled many times in the past by the Sith to be like, hey, we got a good cause. And they were like, hey, let's help these guys. And it backfired.
Pretty much every time.
And I think there were two moments in history. One was the Great Sith War with Ulic Qel-Droma and Exar Kun. And Exar Kun was like, I'll give you all this power. He was a dick. That didn't end well.
He was... And the Sith totally used them, but first of all, Ulic Qel-Droma went one-on-one with Mandalore the Indomitable, and Mandalore lost. So instead of killing him, he conscripted them for the Sith, well, I don't know if it was for the Sith at the point, but like basically for Ulic Qel-Droma, who eventually turned to the Sith. And thus you have this big presence in that whole war of Mandalorians fighting for the Sith. Eventually, they go to a planet called Onderon, and they are fighting at the Battle of Izes. Mandalore is losing, pieces out, goes to the moon Duxon, and dies.
But leaves a strong Mandalorian presence on Duxon, which comes back into the Knights of the Old Republic storyline.
Yes.
And also... Revan was a huge fan of Mandalorians. He brought him in the Second War.
We gotta respect it for him, which is a lot of that opinion and, I don't know, just kind of the whole thing, the Mandalorian tie between Revan and the Mandalorians was because of the Tong, I think this was one of the last Tong Mandalores, if not the last, which is Mandalore the Ultimate.
Yeah.
Indomitable dies. A Tong man preacher thing dude finds the mask, puts it on, does the whole Highlander thing, becomes Mandalore.
I don't think that's how it works, but
it does exactly that way. Look it up online and my Facebook. And Mandalore the Ultimate was basically another pawn of the Sith to some, and to others a great fighting force that tried to take over the friggin' galaxy and failed. He was Napoleon, basically. Napoleon, but actually tall. And there was a lot of fire in the background whenever he was around. All the pictures, it's always like, the ultimate in fire.
They've been betrayed a lot. And they, with that betrayal, they become very disrespectful of other cultures. And they were kind of just like, we're going to go do our own thing in the galaxy.
And they were scattered to the wind like every other day.
And a lot of them became mercenaries and bounty hunters, freelancers, photographers, models, whatever. Right? With that, we come to an era of Jango Fett, who was brought up on the planet of Concord Dawn, which was actually a Mandalorian protected planet. And then it got caught in the middle of a war between Mandalorians and the Mandalorian sect known as the Death Watch. Basically, he wanted to bring Mandalorians back to the root of crazed marauders that just, like, rape and pillage.
They were extremists and zealots for traditional Mandalorian values.
And so he was always going up against this Mandalorian who was a very, like, a noble warrior Mandalorian who was well respected, called Jaster Muriel. And on the planet of Concord Dawn, Jaster Muriel found Jaster Muriel found Jango Fett. His family was being threatened by the Death Watch, and he brought Boba Fett in, raised him as a son after his parents died, and sister disappeared. He was brought in, and that's where the most legendary bounty hunter came from, because he grew up. Jaster Muriel died. He kind of like took a Mandalore type role. He sort of became Mandalore in a sense. People respected him and followed him in that way.
Yeah, he was not Mandalore, but no, he was the person people wanted to become Mandalore.
And also,
they wanted him to do the thing. Yeah.
Mostly also because other people feared him.
Yeah.
When the Battle of Galadran hit, all the Mandalorian that he had with him were wiped out. He was the only one that survived, and he was the only one that was killing Jedi with his fists. And the Jedi realized, oh god, what have we done? We've been wiping out these people. What are we doing? We're Jedi. We're not supposed to be killing all these people. And they left him basically to rot, and he was just
They're nice guys, generally.
Really, he has a reason to hate the Jedi.
They're kind of a-holes.
You also learn that there's a reason why he signed on to create the clones to fight a clone war. Because his genes are the only ones that can stop a Jedi.
Yeah.
With their fists.
Freaking fists. Go out there punching Jedis in the face. Watching their heads explode out their nuts.
Around the time of the prequel movies. Whoa.
Yeah. Bounty Hunter game happened.
Around the time of the prequel movies, the Mandalorians were actually kind of not extinct, but they were endangered.
Yeah.
They were spread thin and far apart. They weren't as well organized because Jango Fett kind of disappeared, and a lot of other Mandalorians disappeared with him. After he was recruited to create the clones, he requested for an unaltered clone, which was Boba Fett.
Boba.
And Boba Fett really was kind of the
prodigal
son that returned to bring Mandalore back to glory.
The prodigal Jango, because clone.
He really was his own person.
He was. I mean, the clones were their own people too, but Boba was special.
He was.
And Jango made him that way.
He wanted him that way. When Boba grew up, he mostly did bounty hunter work, didn't want to do stuff. He actually married young, or did he marry young, or did he just have a child young? At the age of 16, he had a daughter, which was interesting because that was before the movies, or in between the movies, and you never see it. And when you do see him, you just see this ruthless bounty hunter that only talks like 3 times ever, and then gets eaten by a Sarlacc, which is not how he dies.
Yeah, and messed up because he survives getting eaten by the ground worm.
He kind of brings Mandalorians back up once he after he's done doing his bounty hunting stuff.
Bringing him back, putting on the parachute pants, boogieing.
Yeah.
That's Boba Fett.
They dance all night long. Now that we've talked about the history a bit, let's talk about the actual culture and society. Mandalorians have their own language.
They do.
Mandalorians do not poop while eating.
You can't know that for certain.
Or can you?
Yeah, you can. Obviously, the first thing when talking about Mandalorians that you need to get out of the way right there. No, nothing? Don't have anything for me? Damn it.
Let's talk about their lifestyle.
We can talk about food, apparel, Banana Republic.
They like Armel. Armel?
They like Armel apples. Mmm, delicious.
Armel capples. Mandalorians are known for their armor especially.
Yes.
Their Beskar.
The Beskar.
And also, what's their helmet? Their Baichi? Bicey?
I don't remember any of the language because I was like, well, if I was more of a nerd, I would know the language, but my memory is kapupu, so I don't.
Each Mandalorian kind of customizes and makes their own armor.
Moddable armor is a really important thing for the Mandalorian because
and really their
color is important. Being able to do awesome, cool stuff like having flamethrowers, nets, and jetpacks is important. Making your guns that can already kill people from 100 yards be able to have a beam splitter that kills like 50 people from 200 yards. That's even more important than having your knife that's like hidden in your thing and then you go like that.
I like that.
And then your knife turns around and it's like and that's
cannon.
good too, yeah.
Mandalorians have very moddable armor, and color is an essential part of it because each one has their armor painted a color that represents something about them. You learn about someone by the color of their armor.
Unless you're a fanboy and you just do it green like Boba Fett.
You can be boring like that.
Yeah. All I know is that fuchsia armor means you're fabulous. And purple armor means you can't breathe very well.
No, it doesn't.
You're right. That's navy blue armor.
Some of the Mandalorian armor meanings are: gray means mourning a lost love. Red is honoring thy father.
And none of these are like, I really enjoy mustard, or I like long walks through the meadow. They're all hard-ass stuff.
And
because it's important.
But at the same time, a lot of Mandalorians can choose if they want. Like, just, I like a color for a reason.
That's true. But
for the most
whenever
part,
someone calls out, especially in the books, a color that they chose specifically, it's because they chose that color for a very specific reason. Usually because someone's like dead or something, or you have a tragic past.
Black means justice. Gold is vengeance.
Yeah.
Green is duty. So, I mean, I do like the
Gross.
green. Blue is reliability. Orange is a lust for life. So...
Nice.
And then there's the Finnen version, as it says, which are purple is for luck.
Oh,
yeah,
neat.
Pink, respected or respecting someone.
Also neat.
And white, purity.
That's a trope.
If you were to do a color for your Mandalorian armor, what would you do?
I don't know. It's interesting you brought up the Finnen because purple is one of my favorite colors, but also gold is one of my favorite colors because they are a color contrast.
Yeah.
So I would probably be that Dingleberry who does multiple colors, but if I did...
Not Dingleberry.
Pure color combination, purple gold, or purple orange, or white and orange or gold, which I do respect those values as well. Purity, I don't really give a crap about.
It's just a cool color.
It's just white, but I think luck and purple is a very interesting choice.
I think so too.
I think orange would personally relate to me.
Yeah.
Gold, not so much,
The way
But
the way I look at orange, I don't look at it as like I love life and the world around me. I look at it more of a lust for life in the sense of I like exploring and adventuring and having fun.
yeah, well, I think it would call to. I know that there's a character in the book that has orange. Is there a character? There's a character in the book that has orange. I know.
And also, Boba Fett has orange on his highlight of orange.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
That, especially as it pertains to the Mandalorians, is such an important value because what true Mandalorian could not have that, like, the spice of life just, like, fill your nostrils as you look around this amazing galaxy filled with danger and love around every corner.
Adventure.
And you're in it. And then you are going in the spaceship, you're flying into space, you're punching things, you're looking out at the sunset of the horizon of the universe. And there you go. That's orange. It's so powerful.
That's color.
That's color. Stay classy. Stay colorful. So what about you? Color combo.
For my color combination.
Color, I guess. Whichever.
I think I'd do... Blue means reliability, but I'd more choose it as loyalty. Because I'm a very loyal and honest person, so I like the idea of that. I'd probably do that mixed with the orange highlights. Blue and orange.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, like maybe shoulder pads orange or something like that.
Yeah. If I was Mandalorian, I think green, though, would be a very important color because...
Green's an awesome color. You can't go wrong with green.
You can't go wrong with green.
Duty.
And what better than showing, like, your dutiful nature to your family, to your clan, and to your people.
Yeah.
That's just badass.
That's a cool
That's
color.
just important. And when perfect for Boba Fett, green, orange, lust for life, duty.
And it blends in well with the jungle environments.
Yeah. Yeah. I was about to say, like, not so much orange, but more of neon orange. Neon orange is no. Faded orange, whatever.
Faded
Yeah.
orange. Should we talk a little bit about the Clone Wars cartoon and how they butchered the continuity?
We can. And we will.
Now, I know a lot of people love the Clone Wars cartoon, and I like it for some reasons.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it's got some good storylines, it's got some bad.
Some good storylines, some bad storylines. Generally, my favorite thing about it was some characters, almost none of which come to mind, but the atmosphere and, like, all the locales, like, all the atmosphere, like, if they were doing a spoopy, scary episode, then all the background and the ambiance was actually pretty spot on for, you know, like, a darker tone, and when it's all battle, everything is really nice looking and appropriate. But some of the characters are idiots.
Not
namely
just
Anakin.
that.
He's a dinkus.
Yeah. Not just that, but they butchered a lot of lore that was already developed.
Yeah.
One of the main is Mandalorian lore.
And this is a big controversy.
Huge.
Humongous. I don't even know how to talk about it, so I probably won't. Other than the fact that it will become obvious as to why, and you can look up details on your own when we tell you what they did. Because effectively, they took everything that
was Mandalorian and made it not Mandalorian?
Yes. Just like that, too.
So, in the Clone Wars, they go to the planet of Mandalore, which is not the planet of Mandalore.
No.
I mean, then they had to retcon what the show did and make it fit, but really they should have just looked at the source material that already existed. It was their fault.
If they wanted to go in that direction, then they could have made it work, but the way that they presented it, in such a way that if you tried to take what they did and what it was, those don't match up. You would have to do something different to make it work. didn't have to be much different, but they did not take that route. What they did was they took a cold, forested planet, generally sparse. Even during, like, the peak of Mandalorian activity, I can't imagine bustling metropolises, because that's not what Mandalorians do. They are nomadic. When they set up camp, they're setting up outposts, and they're setting up, like, staging grounds, or, like, think about what a tavern is for a story. Like a tavern or an inn or a bar. Like, it's a place to gab, it's a place to eat, it's a place to leave and return. That's what a Mandalorian town is. What is the name of the Mandalorian town in the books?
I forget. I just read it too.
That place?
That place is cool.
That place is a shanty town with a couple buildings. And
it's one of the only...
It's generally bustling. It's one of the only cities.
It's one of the only set settlements. Like,
yeah.
That's one of the few places that doesn't move. It's a town.
You can live there. You can spend time there. But
imagine it as one of those Dust Bowl towns that they run into in the show Firefly.
Yes.
That's what it's kind of like.
That's it. And that would be every town that a Mandalorian would found, make, settle. Settle is a harsh word even. It's not going to happen.
No. And...
like, maybe make a business, but even then, it's like, it has such a different term.
And so what the Clone Wars animated CG show did is they took Mandalore, a planet that is cold and very lush plant life. It's kind of like a, not jungle, but forested. It's a really beautiful planet. And they made it a barren desert wasteland where the environment is hard to live in, apparently, and people live in giant domed cities. Also, the Mandalorians are pacifists.
Not nomadic. They're pacifists, which...
And then they made it that the Death Watch want to go back to the original ways, which are the true ways of Mandalorians.
Which is wrong, right?
It's right, but at the same time, it's wrong.
It's wrong, right?
It's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so they even had to retcon how that all fit in and made sense, which is stupid, because it doesn't if you read the books.
And even their retcon is the biggest cop-out because of the ways it does make sense, which makes the ways that it doesn't make sense even more, like, it stands out even more, because generally what they try to sell you with the whole scenario is that they bombed the crap out of the planet, they made it uninhabitable, they made dome cities. They also told you that that was a certain sect of Mandalorians that were doing that who became pacifists and shed their nomadic nature, which, sure, of course that's possible, but in the show it is portrayed that every Mandalorian is this way. Generally, they sell it as though they've always been that way.
It also portrays it that they are all human, and they're a species of human.
Which is almost like can you even cry racism for Star Wars?
There you can.
Well, in lore you can, because, I mean, the Sith are racist as hell, but, like, it just felt so wrong. It felt so insulting to what is a very inclusionary people.
So that's basically a gist of what Mandalorians are. Now, we will be covering more Mandalorian stuff over time. I just wanted to get a quick basic who are they in there.
What is they? And we just don't know.
If you have any more questions about it, please just comment and ask, and we will inform you. We'll make a video where we answer your Mandalorian questions. That'll be fun. And also, what I want from you guys, what kind of color scheme would your armor be?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Look up the reasons. Look up famous Mandalorians who have that armor. Try to avoid spoilers, but if not, and especially if you have read books, comics, other things, look at their armor. Tell us why you would choose that. Maybe even if there are some personal reasons, like, did someone kill your father? Gold is a fantastic choice. Was Justice black?
Yes.
Black, that's a good one too.
Looking pretty Batman there, Justice.
Ooh, or Bumblebee. Either way, ready to get some red on it. The red is blood.
Also, if you're interested in checking out certain really good Mandalorian stories, some that we'd recommend are the comics, the Tales of the Jedi, and I think it's the Golden Age of the Sith comics. All the Tales of the Jedi ones. Those ones have great coverage of the early Mandalorians and Ulic Qel-Droma and how he dealt with that situation.
Some crazy stuff.
Yeah, also play the Knights of the Old Republic video games. Those are 2 amazing games.
And you meet throughout both of them a Mandalore.
And you go
Very
to
important
Onderon
person.
and Duxon, which is a huge part of the Tales of the Jedi comics.
And without even the comics, like Knights of the Old Republic 1, you have a very good perspective of a scattered Mandalorian people. You deal with them on just about every location you go to.
They're broken people.
You even do your part, if I remember correctly, to steer some of them back home.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like a really good first introduction to Mandalorians, because they don't go too deep, but they're true to character. Knights of the Old Republic 2 gets deep.
Oh yeah, and you can, because one of your companions in 2 turns out to be a Mandalore,
yeah,
you can ask a lot of questions and learn a lot about Mandalorian culture that way. Other things are my next thing that I'm going to review, which is the comic Jango Fett Open Seasons, which is one of my favorite Star Wars comics, and we'll talk more about that in that video. Something that is his favorite, my new favorite, Republic Commando, the books. There's 5 of them. They're amazing.
That's kind of your gateway Bible into a really good story about the prequel trilogy era that completely eclipses most things about that era, especially movie-related, which isn't saying a lot. But you read them and you really get a sense of this amazing story that goes parallel and underlying to the events that took place in the movies.
And is much better than the events of the movies.
Much. I know that Karen Travis wrote a Boba Fett book.
Another one is Legacy of the Force, a series that is way later after the New Jedi Order. I haven't read them yet. I'm going to get to those way down the road. She wrote 3 books that deal with the Mandalorians in them a lot. There's the one Bloodlines, and you learn about how Boba Fett becomes Mandalore in those. And you meet his daughter, and I think also Jaina Solo trains to become, like, basically a Mandalorian in that storyline.
Nice!
I don't know too much. Sorry if that's spoilers.
Neither do I. Also, I'm sure it's awesome.
There's still stuff we're learning.
Mandalorians.
There's always more to learn. Luckily, now that Disney's taken over and restarted, we can catch up and learn all this.
Yeah. Let's everybody, want everybody cross their fingers. If we ever get a chance, let's say maybe, I don't know, Disney's open to hearing what fans have to say. Let's make one of those in-between movies
A Mandalorian
Mandalorian-centric. Have some Mandalorian influence. That would be super cool.
They did announce casting news. They have hired the main lead, who's a female, for their first standalone film, directed by the guy who did Godzilla.
Ooh.
And there's talk that it's going to be a bounty hunter heist movie.
Oh, that's ripe for Mandalorians.
And there's been talks of it's going to be a Boba Fett movie, too.
Oh!
So
we get Boba,
hopefully.
Mandalorians.
If not, hopefully we get a
Some
Boba Fett
cool
movie.
droids.
Orlam, Zuckus.
Orlam. Yeah, Zuckus' Prius.
Any closing statements you'd like to make?
I don't know, man. I just want to go read the books again, play the games again.
You should too.
Look up more Mandalorian stuff. In preparation for talking about this, especially the history bit, which I thought was going to be really short, I got lost in Wikipedia just looking up.
Go check out the Wikipedia.
So much about Mandalorians and Mandalore. All of the Mandalores. So many
If you're
Mandalores.
interested, we will do a longer video about Mandalorian history.
We definitely can.
We'll do a series of it. We'll have,
Yeah.
This will be Mandalorian Mandalorian lore part 1 of however many you guys want. So comment, do whatever you need to do, and you know, just keep the fandom alive. Keep Star Wars, the old history.
Keep it real. Keep it new.
Yeah.
Because that is what the Republic Commando books embodied for me. A new feeling, new emotions for Star Wars that I never had before. Because I didn't grow up with Star Trek. I grew up with Star Wars. The VHSs on my tape. And I loved them.
That's the way to go.
But I never really felt emotionally connected to them like I did while reading those books. And while past the books, which are some of my favorites, going into more things that are not even Mandalorian related, that just have that fresh spirit to them.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck in those ways of thinking that everything has to be the same all the time, because that's what happened to Lucas.
Yeah.
And everybody knows how that turned out with the waddle and the CG gophers. Just, new things are good and cool.
Don't go thinking that every story has to be about Jedi because Jedi are the good guys. Mandalorians can be good guys too. You can be a good guy too.
Yes, you can. You can be a dirtbag that goes around killing people.
You can be a murderous bastard, and we're watching you right now. Don't murder people. That's bad.
No, that is illegal. Don't kill
In fact,
people.
I might cut that out. Just to be safe.
Don't kill people.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment, subscribe, do whatever you wish. I would
Liking, disliking.
Liking, dislike. I'm not saying you don't have to like this video. You can dislike it if you want. Someone's gonna be angry. Finnen, would you like to say goodbye first?
Bye. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for flying me all the way out here to sunny Los Angeles, California.
This isn't Los Angeles, California.
This isn't. You lied to me.
It's not.
I'm actually very disappointed.
You should be. Sucks here.
It's terrible.
This is a desert.
It's actually hot in here.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know why I'm still wearing this.
I know.
I'm Dylan1138. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.